Good afternoon. Let me share this real quick and then we will get started. Sorry, let me share this. Okay. So I wanted to take a second to talk about foundation, okay? Because there are a lot of different foundations, and so I wanted to talk a little bit about how to use them, what's the best for each skin type, and what the difference is between each foundation that's not just that Younique offers, but also that is just out there in general. And we'll take just a sec to talk about picking or choosing your color, okay? And I may take a sec also to actually talk about tools. Just really, do you know what? Yeah, let me grab that real quick. Because I do want to take just a sec to talk about tools and applying that foundation, okay? So the first thing oh man, I forgot to grab something else too. Sorry. Okay, so the first thing that I want to talk about when you're talking about foundation is primer, okay? Now, why do you need primer? And I'm not just talking about Younique primer, I'm talking about any primer in general. So what a primer does is it's just like when you prime the walls of your house before you paint something. This is prepping your face. And so it smooths everything out so that when you put your makeup on, it goes on smoother. It's not settling in your pores or in any wrinkles or lines or anything. It's going to give you a really smooth, flawless finish. It gives your makeup the truest color, not just your eye makeup as well as your face makeup. And it also helps your makeup stay longer, avoid any oiliness. If you tend to be more dry, it helps smooth everything out so you don't look kind of flaky or cakey or anything. This primer is going to help you achieve the best naturally flawless skin, face, no matter what kind of foundation you use. And so the way that you apply this, most primers are colorless. And so this is just a clear kind of creamy gel-like consistency that you just put about a dime size in your hands, and then you just apply it all over your face. And then depending on your skin type as well as the type of foundation that you're using, most of the time you want to let it set and dry for a couple minutes to just let it really set up real good before you put on your foundation. And so typically I'll apply my primer and then I'll maybe do my eyebrows or start on my eye makeup, and then give it a chance to dry, and then I'll continue with the rest of my makeup. Okay, so this is not going to give you any coverage. It just smooths and preps your skin. Okay, the next thing, or the next level up, I guess, starting with your the lowest coverage or the lightest coverage is your BB cream. Okay, so now what is a BB cream? And I get asked this all the time. What is a BB cream? A BB cream is a tinted moisturizer. At its very essence, it's a tinted moisturizer. And so this is going to give you the lightest coverage. Younique's comes in, I think, 6 different colors. And so it's not as, the colors are a little bit broader because it's a really light coverage, and so you can get away with not having an exactly perfect match. And so it gives you kind of almost like a dewy-like finish, and really light. So this is great for, going out just where you just want like maybe just a really quick smoothing, or, just something to kind of really light to even your skin tone, but not like a full face of makeup. This is awesome, especially for the summertime. I'm finding myself grabbing this more and more, as well as actually wintertime. This is fantastic because it's so moisturizing. And so if you tend to have more dry skin, this is great for you. If you have more oily skin, you can still absolutely use this, but I would recommend using some kind of powder on top to combat that shine during the day. Okay, so in application, you can apply a BB cream in any way. I like to just use my fingers. I like to just put a little bit on my fingers and then put it on my face. I feel like that, you know, it's such a light coverage that this just kind of keeps with that really natural finish. Okay, next thing that I want to talk about, because what I'm doing is we're moving up in coverage, okay? And so the next is liquid foundation. Okay, so now liquid foundation, hey Jillian, thanks for joining. I hope that I can share a little bit of good information for you. Let me know if you have any questions as we're going through, or share this with, you know, with people, with your friends, if you think that this would be beneficial for them as well. That's why I put it on my public page. Okay, so the next thing is liquid foundation. Okay, so now depending on the liquid foundation that you get, most of them are kind of like a medium coverage that you can expect. You know, typically all foundations are buildable, and so you can put on more and it's going to give you a heavier coverage. With our liquid foundation, you definitely want to shake it up before you apply it, because separation is natural, and I would recommend that actually with pretty much all liquids that you use, just because, you know, heat and just setting, it's, you know, it can't hurt to shake it up, unless it says like don't shake, which I can't imagine that I would say that. Another thing is that if you're using a liquid foundation and it has a dropper and you are shaking it, make sure that you empty that dropper, otherwise the shaking isn't really doing anything, because then in your dropper you're still, it's not mixed. So the way that you can apply this, there's a lot of different ways that you can apply this. You can use your fingers. You can absolutely use your fingers. That's not going to give you the best look, depending on what kind of look that you're going for. I like to use a brush. I like to use, let me grab it real quick. I like to use my liquid foundation brush. Oh, awesome. Yeah, it's really fun to play, you know, to try out different ones to kind of see which one you like best, because each skin type is a little bit different. And so it's great that there's so many different options, because, you know, some days we don't want the same thing, and some, you know, everybody's skin is a little bit different, and so they need something a little different. So now with this liquid foundation, this is great for pretty much all skin types actually, because it goes on as a liquid and then it dries as a powder. And so if you have more oily skin, this is going to be great for you. If you have more dry skin, this is going to be great for you. This is probably the most versatile foundation that I say that, but I don't know about the most, but it's an extremely versatile product where this is going to be great for everybody. It comes in 13 different shades. And so there's a wide variety. So now let's talk a quick sec about application. So now when you're applying your liquid foundation, there's several different options that you can use to apply it. Personally, and a lot of it comes down to preference, I like to use a brush. I like to use a really dense, this is a liquid foundation brush. It's made for, really the thing that you want to look for when you're using a brush to apply liquid foundation is you want it to be really dense, okay? If it's really fluffy and thin, it's not going to work very well. It's not going to blend very well, and it's not going to give you a real smooth application. It's going to look streaky because it's not, you know, you need those dense fibers to give you the really smooth application. You can apply, you know, when I have ladies try this out, I normally just recommend that they try different ways to see what's going to work best for them. So you can apply this directly to your face. You can drop it right onto your brush. You can put it onto the back of your hand and then dot it on your face, or go from your brush onto your face. It's really up to you on how you want to do it. If you're going for a really quick application, I would suggest putting it right on your brush and then on your face. If you're using a blending bud, which is another great option with a liquid foundation, I would recommend putting it on your hand, because that's going to be a little bit more in control. If you're using a blending bud, you definitely want to get it wet and then wring it out and like dry it on a towel so that it's damp but it's not wet, so that when you go and apply or when you go and get your makeup on it, it's not sopping up too much product, and you're not getting your product lost in the blending bud. You can also use a blending bud absolutely with your BB cream. It's just all depends on your preference. Okay, so that's liquid foundation. So next I want to talk about pressed powder. Okay, so pressed powder is, and our pressed powder actually, fun little tip on that, is that these are actually tend to be a little bit lighter. They come in all of the same shades as the liquid foundation, but it's actually typically a little bit lighter. And so if you wear, so like say I'm kind of in between taffeta and organza in a liquid foundation, but the taffeta pressed powder is a perfect match for me. Pressed powder is great for, especially if you have more oily skin, but it also works really great for dry skin, especially if you use a primer beforehand to prep your skin. My favorite application, it comes with this little sponge, and you can get the sponge wet and use the pressed powder if you want, if you're looking for like a heavier coverage or but my favorite is actually just using a brush, and this is our powder concealer brush, and it's pretty dense. It's pretty dense, and so it blends it and applies it really well. And so this is great by itself. You can build it up to kind of like a medium heavy coverage. But my favorite way to use this pressed powder right now is actually, and that's what I did today, is I actually put this on top of my BB cream. I did BB Flawless, and then I topped it off with some pressed powder to give me more of a matte finish, as well as to just give me a little bit more coverage. It's kind of a light day today where I didn't want to do a whole bunch of makeup. And so pressed powder is great. It's also really awesome because it comes in this really easy, convenient, compact that's great for on the go. This is what, you throw in your bag for touch-ups in the middle of the day. Okay, next one is I want to talk about loose powder. Okay, and this is actually a new product that we just hey Kaylee, hey Jamie. This is a new product that we just released like a month ago. And so it's kind of like it's a loose powder foundation. So I want to show you the way that this container is set. It's a little bit different than most typical loose powders that you get, which actually I really kind of love because you're not wasting the product. Now I like to use a brush as well. You could use a blending bud. I think that might be a little bit harder. But you put your brush in, you swirl it around, tap off the excess, and then buff it onto your face. Hey Rosa. Yes, this brush is awesome. This brush, I really, really love it. And the illuminators are really fun. I think we're going to talk about illuminators on a different video. I thought about doing like all of the other face products too, but I think I'll do another video where we talk about bronzers and blush and illuminators and like highlighting and that kind of thing. And so with a loose powder, this also comes in 13 different colors, the same as the liquid foundation and the pressed powder, but the colors of this are actually closer to the liquid foundation, meaning that they're really pigmented. Okay, they're really, really pigmented. So whatever color you wear of liquid foundation, I would get the exact same color in the loose powder. Now, whatever color you wear in the liquid foundation, I would actually suggest almost getting like a shade darker if you're getting like the pressed powder, just because that pressed powder tends to be just a little bit lighter. So now the coverage on this is, you can use this much like your pressed powder. It's just, your application is just going to be just a little bit different. And you can actually, the coverage on this, you can build it up a little bit more. The coverage on this guy is actually a little bit more than the pressed powder. And so you just get it the same way. You apply it just like I said, and you buff it all over. This is great, paired with any of the other foundations. This is another great option to pair with a BB cream if you want a little bit more heavier coverage, or just by itself with a primer. It's really awesome to just give you a really nice natural look. especially with kind of normal to dry, or excuse me, normal to oily. This is really great because of that powder. And let me tell you, this goes on like silk. Okay, this stuff goes on so smooth. It makes your face look so soft and buttery, and it just goes on so beautifully. Okay, so the next one is the cream foundation. Okay, so now this is probably, I would say, the heaviest coverage in this cream foundation. So it comes in a compact, just like the pressed powder, which is awesome for convenience and for traveling. It's got the sponge, which you can use wet and do kind of like a beauty blender, or you can do dry, and you can also wash it. It's a really nice sponge. This cream, let me talk a second about this cream foundation. The colors are just like the pressed powder, and it's the 13 shades, just like everything else. And I would say that the colors are probably just like the pressed powder, where they might be just a little bit lighter than like your liquid foundation or the loose powder. So depending on your shade, and I would help you out. I'd help you out get a good color match. But this cream foundation, one of the ingredients in this is actually the key ingredient in our Uplift Beauty Serum, which is what you see for like anti-aging and for any like fine lines and wrinkles. That it's called squalane. I think I'm saying that right. But it's it's one of those natural ingredients that Younique has found and put in a lot of our products, because it is so good, amazing for your skin. So this cream foundation is really fantastic for normal to dry. If you're more oily, I probably wouldn't recommend the cream. You'd be better off with some of the other options, with maybe the pressed powder or the liquid foundation. The cream is going to give you a little bit more of a dewy look. It's definitely, you can do lighter coverage, but it does err on the side more for heavier coverage. But you can absolutely use this, if you wanted to try the cream and you have more oily skin, then you could absolutely use this and then top it off with a powder or something to finish it off and give it more of that matte look. So this is, again, 13 colors, way to apply it. You could use your fingers. You could absolutely use your fingers, or that brush, or a blending bud, or even just like, you could probably actually use the liquid foundation brush. You could probably put it on there and then apply it, or just like a straight foundation brush, which kind of looks like a paintbrush. So that's your cream foundation. Hey, Allie. So we've pretty much talked about all of the different foundation options. So to just recap, you've got your building up in coverage, you've got your BB cream, and then your liquid foundation, pressed powder, and loose powder. And these guys are probably about the same amount of coverage that you're going to get with these. And these guys are really, really great to pair and to kind of set any kind of liquid or cream foundation. And then you have your cream foundation. Okay, so that's 5 different types of foundation. And I know that it's hard sometimes when you look at them. It's so fun. And honestly, I think that I've really been loving this pressed powder because I tend to be more oily, and especially during the summertime, this pressed powder has really been so wonderful, because I just, you get hot and the powder just kind of helps counteract that. So with the 5 different kinds of foundation, I know that it's sometimes hard to know which one is right for you, which one is going to be best for your skin tone. So I hope that, or your skin type and tone. And so I am always here available for any kind of recommendations, or whoever your Younique presenter is, they'll be able to help you out by just asking some really simple questions to figure out which what kind of coverage you're looking for, as well as what your skin type is. So now I want to take just a really quick sec to talk about picking out your color. because I hear a lot of I talk to a lot of ladies about choosing a liquid foundation or choosing a foundation just in general, and them having a hard time finding a right match. And so I want to take a sec to talk about it. And honestly, the method that I use to help color match is that you can use this exact same method going to the drugstore or going to wherever you are getting your foundation, because this is how the industry separates and categorizes foundation. And so the way that makeup foundation is categorized into 3 different groups, and those groups are dependent upon your undertone. And when I say undertone, I'm talking about, you know, the tone of your skin. Okay, so your undertone of your skin, which is like, duh. Okay, we got that, Hannah. And so the 3 different groups are cool, meaning that you have more of a pink undertone, so like a pink or a red undertone. If you are a cool undertone, then that typically also means that you burn fairly easily in the sun. Okay, when you're out in the sun, you know that sunburn is a concern for you. And then there's also warm. Okay, and warm is typically your yellow or kind of an olive undertone. Okay, and so for those ladies, when they're out in the sun, they're not worried about a sunburn because they know that they're just gonna tan. Okay, so that's your warm undertone. So if you are tanning, or you know that you have more of an olive or a yellow undertone, you are a warm undertone. Okay, and then there's also neutral, which is kind of a mix of the both. And you can, just looking at my face, you can kind of see how I've got a little bit of, and I mean, mind you, I do have some foundation, but you can still see a little bit of my undertones coming out. You can see I've got a little bit of redness around here, and then also some yellow, which is, so I am typically in the neutral category. So when I go out in the sun, especially the first time like of the year when I'm going out and I'm outside for a while, I'm gonna burn, but then it turns to tan. And so that's your neutral undertone, kind of a mix of the both warm and the cool. So then once you know what undertone you are, whether it be cool or warm or neutral, then simply what you do is, okay, I know that I am a neutral undertone, and I don't need light, you know, I don't need like super light foundation. I need more of like kind of a light to medium foundation. And so then you go to that category, so I go to my neutral category, and I go to the neutral to light foundation option. And there it is. Now, sometimes, you know, depending on the time of year, sometimes I might err on the lighter side or the darker side, depending on how much sun I get. But you know that, you know how much sun you normally get, or you know how your skin fluctuates. But recognizing which undertone you have, that's going to be the easiest way for you to then make it easier to pick the right foundation for you. Because once I learned that, I look at the foundation that I was getting before, and I was like, oh my gosh, that was totally wrong. No wonder that no wonder I didn't like the way that my face is looking, because I had the wrong undertone. I was looking too orange or too pink or whatever it is. So then when you're looking at your foundation, it's going to tell you whether it's warm or neutral or cool, or typically just in the name. Okay, last thing, I promise, because I don't want to go for too long. Last thing that I want to talk about is setting your makeup, okay? And setting your foundation, and we didn't even talk about concealer. Maybe we'll talk about concealer. Yeah, we'll talk about concealer when I do like highlights and illuminators. Well, actually I'll take just a sec. So there's two different concealers that we have, and it's typically two different types of concealers that are available to you. You have a powder concealer, which is this is a lot like just your mineral concealer or your mineral powder concealer, and then a cream concealer. Okay, so no matter what you're using, you typically use these to highlight or to conceal, right? And so a lot of ladies use these under your eyes, in a lighter shade than your foundation to draw, to brighten your eyes or to conceal any trouble spots. when you're using them to brighten, you want to go about 2 shades lighter than your foundation. About 2 shades lighter than your foundation is going to be a good match. You don't want to go too bright, because then it's going to be like super bright. But again, you know, that's just, it's a lot of preference. You know, everybody likes a little different look. Some people really love a dark or, you know, bright eye. So it all depends. But when you're using a cream concealer, you need to set it, okay? And so when I say set it, I'm talking about with a powder. So now you could absolutely use like a pressed powder or a loose powder to set a cream or liquid foundation, or you could just use a setting powder. So this is a translucent powder, and you know there's a lot of different options when it comes to translucent setting powders. It comes in the same type of pot as the loose powder foundation. And the way that you apply this, honestly, you can't really go wrong with this. Like, you can't really mess it up. You just apply it everywhere, basically. You know, you can use a brush just like this, or a fluffier brush to just put it in, and then you apply it all over the place. You can also use this to bake your makeup. If you're not sure what that is, you can shoot me a message and I'll tell you more about that. I feel like I could go on about that for a little bit. I'll probably do a separate video talking about baking your makeup. But this is going to help your makeup stay, avoid any creases, and as well as just kind of give like a smooth finish. Think of this almost like your top coat on your nails almost, where it just kind of like smooths everything out and gives you a really nice airbrushed finish, okay? And so then another option that you have when it comes to setting your makeup is a setting spray, okay? And I just got this, and let me tell you, I used it yesterday for the first time, and I used it again today because I knew that I was gonna be outside and it was gonna be hot. This stuff, a setting spray, is really going to help seal your makeup in. Think of it like your hairspray, okay? You put your makeup on, or you do your hair, and then you put your hairspray on so that your look stays. It's the exact same concept, but just for your face. And so the way that you apply this is after your makeup is completely done, you just spray it all over your face. It's gonna feel kind of wet. You know, it's gonna feel kind of like you just sprayed yourself in the face with water, which, I mean, it's not water, but you get the idea. And then you let it dry, and it just keeps your makeup in place all day long. You know, normally, you know, my makeup normally stays pretty good, but typically I'll get like a little bit of wearing out, you know, in places that I touch. You know, I touch my cheeks, I touch my nose, you know, I'm doing this, you know, I'm touching whatever. And this just helps it so that when I touch my face, you know, I'm not smudging my makeup around. Because that's normal. You know, a certain amount of smudging is just normal. And so that is, your setting spray is going to help with that. And this guy actually, it was out of stock for a while, but it is back in stock. Oh no, that one wasn't out of stock. The loose powder was. So there you go. That was a lot of information. and I'm sorry if that was a little bit of an overload, but I've just been getting a lot of questions, and I felt like it would be really great to I just wanted to give a little bit of information about different makeup or different face makeup, how to apply it, the best for different skin types, how to select the right color, and as well as helping your makeup stay as long as you can, as all day, you know, so that it lasts as long as you do. I hope that you enjoy this. If you have any questions about any of the products, or about choosing a product for yourself, or if you share this video, let me know so that I can give you a shout out, because I love it when, you know, thank you so much for the support. But, you know, contact me or whoever the presenter is who shared this with you to get you going, and they will be able to help you with the right match for you. I hope that you have a fantastic day. Bye.